Hi guys. This is my first time going live on YouTube. I'm going to be going live on TikTok as well. If you have a question, I'm just kind of answering some questions today. So feel free to put those in the chat. I'm just getting set up on TikTok as well. So give me just a second. Oh no. Sorry, guys. Hey guys, just jumping on quick to answer a few questions if you have them. If you're new to my account, I'm live right now on both YouTube and TikTok. So hello to everyone. I love to start off too by just asking, how old are your little ones? You got babies, toddlers. Feel free to put where you're from in the chat. Love to know that. I hear a thunderstorm rolling in here, so we'll see how long I can stay live. But yeah, just feel free to put your questions in the chat. I said I'm also live on YouTube, which I've never done before, so I'm not sure how to do questions over there, but hopefully people can. I see a chat, so I think people can put questions in over there as well. So any questions about baby toddler development, anything that you're struggling with, feel free to put that in there. I did just post, I think it's kind of a fun post talking about how one of the things that I do, or one of the routines I walk in on a lot of times when I'm going into homes working in early intervention is parents and children watching TV together. And I think that's a routine that sometimes people almost feel guilt about, like, oh, I shouldn't be watching TV. And I don't want parents to feel that way, because there's actually some really cool programming out there. And when I walk into a home visit and a family has the TV on, I actually start to think about, okay, this is an important routine for the family. How can we use this TV routine to work on the family's priorities? And so one of the ways that I do that sometimes is actually um, talking about the different programs out there. So let's say I have a child that maybe we're working on gross motor goals. Maybe they're wanting to work on balance and coordination. We might use a show like Cosmic Kids Yoga. It's really great. My kids love that show. I love that show. I mean, I'm not great at the yoga part, but I love that it teaches kids ways to regulate. It helps with movement. And there's things that they do on there that I would never have taught as a parent. So I think like that's an example. Also, like if I have a kid working on social skills, I might suggest a show like Daniel Tiger. That's one that I've used with my kiddos, especially when they're, maybe scared to go to a doctor appointment, something like that. It can almost work as like a social story. So those are my thoughts on using TV or screen time as a tool to work towards our goals when we're being mindful about programming or how we use it. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in the chat. I think I had a question. I don't think I have any yet. So if you're just joining, feel free to put in the chat any questions that that you have. All right. So one of the things that I get asked the most, I would say, would be communication. So I'm going to go ahead and go over just a couple of things as far as looking at communication or ways to encourage communication. But like I said, if you're joining and you have a question, feel free to go ahead and pop that into the chat. So if you're looking for I would say ways to maybe expand vocabulary. I love to think about it as ways that we can looking for the opportunities that are already happening during the day. So let's say your goal is like you want your child to you want your child's vocabulary, you want them to gain more words. Maybe you want them to start using 2-word phrases. And so one of the easiest things that we can do is just kind of narrate different routines throughout our day. They seem really simple to us, but to children a lot of times, they're all new words and new opportunities. So even when you're doing something like getting in the car, it's a great opportunity to work on language development, whether you're talking about we're going to buckle you into your seat and maybe it goes snap, making fun sounds, making fun words. Anytime that we can add language to a routine works because children need to hear words many times. And when we target routines that they're doing every single day, they get lots of repetitive practice. So if you're looking for ways to kind of encourage language development or looking to grow that vocabulary, that can be an excellent, excellent thing to do. I was going to look at my notes really quick. If anybody has questions, feel free to put those in the chat. I was just pulling up my notes. I don't have any questions yet. Wow. I'm kind of shocked. Oops. Sorry, all these weird things are coming on my screen for TikTok Live. I guess I haven't been on it recently, so I'm like zoning out. Hey, Crystal and Emily, how are you guys? I hope you're doing well. We got a rainy day where I'm at. So I just thought I'd pop on quick and answer questions, but it's pretty quiet today. I guess everybody's doing good, so that's good. Oh. I'm trying to think of what topics I should cover because usually I get swamped by questions, but it's pretty quiet today. Is there anything you want to chat about? Just thinking maybe, let's see. Speech is improving so much. So what have you been doing that you think's working really well? That's exciting. It's always so exciting to hear first words. Or even, just see the progress of, they're gaining more words or putting words together. What's working? Oh, that's so exciting. Maybe I'll keep talking about communication then. I was going to grab some notes. Let's see. I think my favorite all-time. Why is this not working? My internet's being a little weird today. So Sue, we got babies or toddlers here today? I think she's going to preschool and they're constantly narrating everything. Oh, wonderful. Yeah, honestly, that's one of the the most important strategies. And sometimes you don't see like the progress right away. Like you can be like, well, I've been narrating stuff for weeks and nothing's happening. But it sometimes takes a really long time because it's like they have to hear the word over and over again before they get the confidence to actually say it. And so just that simple narration is such a wonderful strategy. And things like singing too. That's another one that I feel like it's so simple that people think, oh, it's, but it's just so effective. I see I have tips for a mama struggling with a toddler 2 years. What are you struggling with? Can you give me an example? Oh, and somebody's got an 18-month-old and a 4-year-old. That 2 years old can be a tricky age. Power struggles. Okay, so give me like the power struggle that you're having the most trouble with, like during the day. Somebody has a 2-year-old and a 7-month-old. Any power struggles in your house happening? It's hard, guys. That's, and why those, I was just going to do a stitch too, because somebody was talking about tantrums, kind of starting at that 2-year-old, like you have that really calm, happy child. And then all of a sudden at like age 2, it's like, bam, what happened? Why are we having power struggles all of a sudden? Like they change so much. And a big part of that, it's like they understand so much, but they oftentimes don't have that expressive language to kind of, meet that receptive language. They understand a lot, but they can't express. So that's frustrating. They also don't have that impulse control. So that causes some issues. And they're learning that they can influence the things around them, which is a positive thing. And so then as parents, we have this tricky thing where we've got to navigate, how much power do we give them? And I always say, kind of choose your battles, but let's talk about the power struggles a little bit. I think that's a really great topic. Yeah, not at all. No power struggles at the house with the 2-year-old. We got a little more information here. She wants to persistently get her way and telling me no, screaming at me. She has a massive vocabulary. All right, so that's good. So, she's figured out that her way is important and she wants that known. So that's typical. So what can we do? And I would love to hear from you guys too in the chat. Like what strategies have you used that work well when you've encountered these power struggles? So for the very first thing is just know that, they're typical. And I think even just knowing that, like, a power struggle does not mean you've done anything wrong. It does not mean that there's anything wrong with your child. It is part of typical development because there's just lots of different things at play as far as brain development goes. And so sometimes with those power struggles, we may have to kind of sit with those big emotions, and that's okay. And we're going to be supportive. We're not going to necessarily try to stop tantrums because that's not the goal. The goal is not to stop these big emotions. They're normal, like we said. Liz says, we've tried choices and timeouts. We've tried giving a small time frame after dinner kind of thing. Yeah, so I think choices is one of my favorite strategies as far as you're giving them some power and some control in their day. Now, depending on what the power struggle is about, I'm going to grab this quick. When we use choices, you're giving them some control. That's what they want. And there's nothing wrong with that. It can be, and as long as those choices are things that you want anyways, I think, that's excellent. Sorry. Choices worked for a long time and now it's not working. So what happens when you give her a choice? Does she start screaming no? Or you also want to pay attention to other things. Have they been sick? Are they tired? Are these things happening more at certain points of the day? And you might have to try other strategies. She wants what she wants, and it's okay to say no and to have her throw the tantrum. That sometimes is going to be what happens. We're going to say the answer is going to be no for something. Sometimes there's not a choice, and that's okay. So we're going to say no, and they're going to have big feelings, and we are just there to be supportive. So maybe it's giving a hug. Maybe not, though. She may want space. It's letting them know that you're there. It's you staying regulated, which is the hardest part. I think the hardest part of these big feelings is for some adults, maybe not all adults. I feel like it was something that I really had to work on, was making sure that I stayed regulated, because when we don't model that, when we don't co-regulate, it causes those emotions to get even bigger. I saw somebody in the comments. She wants it. Okay. So during the power struggles, if my toddler is very upset, I ask her if she needs a hug. Yeah, that's a great way. And some kids will want a hug, some don't. And that's what gets tricky about tantrums and stuff, is because you really have to be supportive in a way that works for that specific child. One of my kiddos, they want nothing to do. They do not want to be near me when they have a tantrum. And that's okay. So I might give a little space, let them know that I'm still there. But if they need a little space, that's okay. Maybe they want to snuggle a stuffed animal, and I think we oftentimes want to stop the tantrums because we want to fix it. But have you ever had, like as an adult, you've had a release of emotions, maybe you've cried or something, and you feel better afterwards? Like, the more we want to stop all these emotions, it doesn't help anything, because they still need to come out, and we just want to be there to support. So choice is great strategy. Just being supportive during the tantrum and letting them happen, that's okay too. We're looking to be supportive. Another thing I was going to say, if you're one of the big times that I see tantrums pop up is during transition. So maybe it's that transition, like, we've got to move on in the morning, we've got to get dressed, and then we see a tantrum when it comes time to get dressed. And so I'm just going to use that as an example. One thing I've seen work well, and it was with my daughter actually when she got a little older. Like, if we would tell her to get dressed, it was like, no. But when she had her own checklist, and she still likes to use this, getting dressed was fine. She would. And so sometimes it's this, I want to be more independent. I don't want you to tell me to do these things anymore. I'm getting a little bit older. And this isn't going to work for all kids, but for some kids, having a little checklist of visual support instead of you having to verbally tell them what they need to do. And I just have these little cards that they can kind of check off. It's not a reward system or anything. It's just like, I think as an adult, like, I see how much I rely on visual stuff like this. Like, I'm always checking a calendar. I'm always checking a list. I have to write stuff down. Like, even like taking notes on my phone doesn't work for me. Like, I have to physically, anyways. So some kiddos really like visual signs. So if you're seeing a lot of struggles during those transitions, then using a checklist like this, you can find this one in my parenting resources to print off, but you can make your own too. Maybe you don't want the same things on yours. I would keep it short. I think I have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that 6? I can count, I promise. Anyways, keep it really simple. So if you want one already done, this is up in my parenting resources. It comes with the morning and the bedtime. I laminated it together. But this, for children that are just wanting that independence and you're struggling with those tantrums that are happening a lot between transitions, something like this can be really helpful. And you'll see this a lot in childcare and preschool settings. Because sometimes it's even tantrums can stem from sort of maybe some anxiety. They want to know what's coming next. Sorry, YouTube. I see I've got some people watching over there. This is my first live over on YouTube, so sorry if I'm looking different ways. I'm not holding this up very. Okay, this is hard. Okay, so anyways, this is my parenting resource. If you want something like this, can be a great strategy for kiddos. If they're wanting that independence, maybe they want to know what's going to happen in their day. Maybe that's not enough warning for you to say, hey, we got to eat breakfast, whatever. They maybe need to see their day laid out. I also have other forms where you can, this is my visual support kit where you can kind of design your own. Once again, 5 things. We don't want to overwhelm kids and put like 20 things on the schedule. Like, you have to think of it as an adult too. Like, if you looked at your calendar and there was like 20 things to do, like, oh my gosh, like anxiety. So always keep, like I said, you can make these on your own, make your own pictures, do it how you want to do. But always keep in mind, like, try to see your child's perspective. I think the most helpful things that we can do is whatever it is, try to see it through your child's eyes. I see I've got, how do I handle the tantrums in a public setting? I've actually wrote a whole blog post on that. I'm going to pull that up so I don't miss any of the tips I put on there. Sometimes I'll forget things. I wrote a whole blog post on tantrums in public. If you're looking for my website, it's parentingexpertsmom.com. I have it linked up in my bio as well. You can find it on YouTube too, linked on my bio. Tantrum. I'm going to go through my list that I have written because sometimes I just forget things. So, especially when I'm doing lives. So let's see. Hey, I wonder if I can actually put this in the chat on live. I can put the whole article. Sorry, TikTok. You're just going to have to hold on because over on YouTube, I can drop a link in the comments so people can read what I'm talking about. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Okay, those on TikTok, if you're not following me on YouTube, please come follow me on YouTube because it's so much easier to give you guys resources. On YouTube, I can link all of my resources or blog posts. I can link them to every single post. So, with everything going on with TikTok, if you're not following me on YouTube and you hang out on YouTube at all, follow me over there because it's just easier for me to give you guys more information. Anyways, okay, so how do we, oh my goodness, I'm seeing lots of, okay, I was going to talk about tantrums in a public setting. Sorry, guys. I got a little lost in the comments here. So let's look at my tips. The first thing is, like we talked about, they're normal. Tantrums are part of typical development, and they're going to happen. And if people are giving you strange looks or judging you or anything, please know that they just don't understand child development. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. And it doesn't mean that you're doing anything bad or wrong if your child has a tantrum in public. When it comes to tantrums in public, the first thing I like to do is think of ways that we can prevent them. And so part of the ways, if you can, and not everybody can do this, is if you can plan around your outings. We want to plan them around times where your child's well rested, they're not hungry, they're generally in a good mood. Like I always felt when my kiddos were younger, we tried to do stuff in the morning because that's when they were in the best mood. That's kind of, as the day went on, I feel like that's when I would see an increase in tantrums and stuff. So if you can plan your errands and stuff around times when your child's well fed, they're, well rested, that can be great for prevention. What else do I got? Oh, this is a big one. Having ways for your child to participate. Now, if it's something like going to the grocery store, there's tons of ways for your child to participate. I've written blog posts on that and done posts about that. That's always been one of my favorite activities to do with my kiddos. I know it's not a favorite for everybody, but I always love taking my kids to the grocery store. And I know it sounds weird, but there's lots of opportunities to learn there if you can find the right ways for them to participate. So anytime we can increase their participation in something, generally those tantrums are going to go down. Now let's think about something like a doctor's appointment. Well, you don't have as much control there. You might be stuck in a room. So how do we get around tantrums in there? I would bring some things with. We're using that planning again. So maybe we're going to bring some books, some favorite toys. Those outings can be a bit tricky. So plan. Let's see what else I got in my post here. Oh, there again, thinking in the keeping your child in mind, if possible. If you're going grocery shopping, keep the errands short. They do tend to get tired out. So if you notice like your child hits a wall and they're not so happy after that, see if you can keep your shopping list short and try to be mindful of the time that you're spending in your errands just to keep them happy. You want to be supportive like we talked about earlier. Number one, you stay regulated during that tantrum. And it gets harder and harder when you're outside of the house because you start sweating, you see people looking at you. But just know that tantrums are part of typical development. And if they're happening outside the home, that's normal. You're not doing anything wrong as a parent. So as much as you can, stay regulated because children, they regulate with us. And so if we're up here, they're going to come up here too. If they're up here, we want to be calm and comforting and regulate down here. And so that co-regulation is so important. I was going to point out, if you're looking for books about this stuff, if you're like, I really just want to deep dive, and I just started another good one that I will talk about too when I've read it. But these are two of my favorite books for toddlers. This one, especially if Liz, if you're still here, this book I feel like was one of the most actionable books for toddlers and dealing with those big emotions and finding ways to get them to do things. It's How to Talk So Little Kids Will Listen. Absolutely love this book. And you'll see a lot of this kind of stuff incorporated in my videos and stuff, but recommend it for ages 2 to 7. Highly recommend. I love the way that it's laid out. And I always read parenting books like super slow because I want to try everything. My kids are almost out of this range. My kids are 5 and 7 now, so maybe this won't work anymore, but absolutely love it. It really talks about looking through all this stuff through a child's lens, encouraging participation, making things fun and play. So absolutely, this is a great one. I have it linked up in my Amazon shop if you're looking for recommendations. Another book that I just finished too is Connections Over Compliance. And this too, I can't explain it all. But really just talks about that the regulation and making sure you're connecting over just focusing on the compliance. But I can't even summarize everything. But another excellent resource. Now, this is written more for school age. However, you can pretty much apply, I felt like everything, like I read it, I felt like I could apply a lot of this stuff too. But this one, I mean, if you're looking for 2 to 7, easy read, it's big, not gonna lie, it's big. But there's also like pictures and it's broken down really nice. So I really recommend this one for parents. If you've read that one, you're like, I want more, maybe something like this. And then I'm starting one called Self-Reg too. That's excellent so far. I do a lot of reading when I can. I'm reading in the chat quick to see if I have more questions coming in. Tips for me to stay calm in that. Like I said, that's the hardest part. And so I think whenever you're struggling to feel regulated, you really want to try to look inward at that. You know, why are you starting to feel kind of triggered or whatever? Is it because you haven't had a break? Is it because you're not getting sleep? Is it because things are too loud? You know, what is it? And how can you regulate? And that's easier said than done. When I remember neither of my kids slept very well. So I remember when I had a toddler and a newborn, really struggling with that regulation because my big thing was I was just exhausted. I wasn't getting any sleep. And so my tolerance was not great. So really look inward, you know, what is it that's causing you to trigger? And you know, maybe it's taking deep breaths. Maybe it's turning some music on that can help you calm. Music's a good one for me. I feel like noise oftentimes gets to me, but if I turn on music, that helps me, can help kids too. So, and I'd love to hear if people have other ideas, throw those in the comments. Let's see what I got. Where can I find these books? I have them linked in my Amazon shop. So if you go up there, I think it's called like Parent Book Recommendations. They're linked up there. Oh, thank you. Say my hair is gorgeous. Thank you. Feel like I'm in survival mode. I'm so sorry. It is a hard time. And I feel like those toddlers, you're like, okay, so now my kids are 5 and 7, and I feel like I'm coming out of survival mode. Like I'm actually starting to do things that I did before I had kids. And so I understand that. And like, I can still very real in my mind. Like I remember being there. Know that it gets better. It takes time. And as your kids get older, I feel like it's gotten easier. And if I'm completely honest, I thought the birth to 3 years would be like easy for me because I've been working in early intervention for years and years. But it wasn't. I feel like they were harder for me than they are right now. Like my kids at 5 and 7, I feel it's an easier time as a parent. than it was when they were babies and toddlers. Now, everybody's experience is different, but despite having lots of baby toddler experience, I still felt like it was a very challenging time. So hang in there, hang in there. Okay, Emily, let's see. Emily keeps biting me. I think it's seeing baby Lily's always gnawing on me, jealousy. I remember that with my little ones. They would try to maybe do things that they saw the babies doing, but so I think that's very typical. So how I would try to think of how you maybe it's a way to get attention. Like it's hard when I'm not. Let me see if you gave me some more information. I don't know what to do though when she does it. Also screams when Lily cries, and brain, that's so hard. I felt like, okay, so biting. So we want to think about, why is she biting? And like you said, it could be that jealousy. And so I would, try to think of what's a way that she can get your attention that's special to you. So maybe you could, whenever they bite or they do something, we always think like, okay, let's, consequence. It's like this book, connection over compliance. So instead of thinking like she bit, let's do something as a consequence, we want to think about, okay, so she's wanting connection. How can we give her a way to connect that is safe and feels good for you? So maybe it's, hey, we don't bite. If you want, you can give me a high five. Trying to think of other fun ways that we could do a fist bump. Like, what could she do to get your attention when she's wanting it? And I can't remember how old Emily is. Could she be getting any sort of teeth or anything like that? I can't remember how old she is. Think about those things as well. Oh, how long or how old's your baby? She's saying, is there such a thing as giving too much attention? If I'm not feeding Lily, I'm always with her, playing or doing something with her. But now I'm like, does she not know how to cope? Okay, she's 2-3 in July. Oh my goodness. So I can relate to this. This was about the same ages that my kids were apart. I believe. Yeah. So it sounds like you're giving attention. When I'm not giving her full attention. I don't think it's that she doesn't know what to do. I mean, you could, if you feel like she's not able to play independently at all, you can start to kind of navigate that a little bit. Will she do independent play? And independent play too, I feel like varies so much from one kiddo to the next. Like I have one child that she's very like independent play came really easily, but my older one, it didn't come as easily. Okay, 5 months old. Yeah, oh my gosh, our kids were like the same apart and it was really hard. So it's just hard, but should I tell her off for biting? Yeah, so when she bites, we don't want to overreact and make too big of a deal, but we can tell her that it's not acceptable. We can still give her that boundary. Now, biting too, depending on why she's doing it, it can always be something too, like an oral sensory thing. But if she's 2, I don't know, could there be some sort of molars coming in? I don't know. Sometimes biting feels good to kids. So, you can lay down that boundary. You cannot bite me. Is there something else that she could bite? Sometimes there's like teethers and stuff like that. But you want to, instead of giving a consequence, let her know there's a boundary, no biting, but what can she do instead? So like I was thinking more of along the lines of to get your attention. I'm trying to think of this. There's another thing that we could maybe talk about instead of the biting as well. Like what can we teach her to do instead? If that biting is getting your attention, if she's trying to get your attention with biting, then we want to teach her a different way to get your attention. If the biting is coming from something else, maybe she's trying to be silly. It's so hard. But yeah, definitely set the boundary and then figure out what she should be doing instead of biting, if that makes sense. This is so hard to do sometimes through live because I can't. Oh, she's purposely copying. Okay, so maybe a little. Okay, so now you're saying, I feel like she's purposely copies Lily, but I don't want to tell her off when Lily. Oh, okay, I got it. So now I understand, I think. So she's imitating the baby. Very typical. So we might want to talk about why the baby's doing it and really just giving her some knowledge about it. You can say, you know, Lily doesn't have teeth yet. And so babies put things in their mouth to learn. Can you help me find something for Lily to bite? Because Lily bites, you know, does that make sense? So maybe we are finding something that way. Maybe she just needs a little knowledge about that. Sometimes we forget that we kind of have to really talk about that stuff. What, you know, because she might see the baby. And I've seen this too, where like the toddler will start going into the baby equipment, or they'll want a nurse, or they'll, you know, want bottles again. They kind of start not regressing. They're just taking in this new information about this little baby. So maybe we could give her some information, you know, about why the baby's biting and how she can help Lily find things to bite, you know, whether, you know, she's going to help her read a book or a toy like that. Yes, it is a hard age gap. It will get better. It will. It's a tough time. I just, you know, I feel ya. It gets better though. It will. All right, guys. I actually have to get going, but it was so nice to chat both here on YouTube and on TikTok. If you have questions that didn't get answered, feel free to just hop over to my profile and pick a video, add a comment, and put your question there, and I'll see if I can do a reply. I really appreciate you coming to the live. I always appreciate likes, comments, shares on my video as a creator. It's so helpful. And yeah, if you're looking for more resources, check out the link in my bio. I've got my Amazon shop up there if you're looking for recommendations. I also have my blog linked up there if you're looking for more in-depth information on things. I also have, you know, things up there like my visual schedules, printables, things like that. If you're in my group for mindful parents of babies and toddlers, don't forget all those resources are all in there and you have access to everything. It's all included with your membership. So yeah, that's all there. If you're wanting to be a mindful parent of babies and toddlers member, you can sign up too in my bio link as well. All right, guys. Thank you.